Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 2, week 1-ish of Yahoo Fantasy Football. We are coming at you not live with all of the updates from last week. We have some new topics from this week, and we're going to get into some of the matchups next week. So it is me, myself, Jeremy. You guys want to go down from the top to bottom? Oh, you all have different tops and bottoms. We have Jordan, Chip, and Anthony coming at us.
Hi guys.
So, as you can see, I have, or not you guys. Here, I can do this. This is the screen I'm sharing with you guys is the screen that they are seeing. So you guys can see what they see. Here I have my match pulled up. That's just the first one of last week. But let's get into a few of these matchups from this week and see how we did. If you guys want to start, Anthony, how did your matchup last week go?
I got the win. I played Ben. And to that matchup real quick. It actually was a pretty good matchup. Ben's, Ben's the thing that got Ben. He had a few underperformers. He also had Ayuk, who didn't do anything for him.
Yeah, Ayuk didn't show up at all.
Yeah, I had Ayuk played, it would have been a really close game. And I had some struggles too. So it just kind of, we both struggled last week. But for me, luckily, I was able to get the win and move on to the next week, next challenger,
Which is me.
which is Jeremy.
So me and Chip played last week. That was a really close match, and it was really close until all of your players stopped playing, and I think I had 2 left on the bench to score me 20 points, and they managed to come away and do it. I'm actually pretty happy with how my team performed. I had my wide receivers and my running backs did the job they needed to, and put up some pretty decent points. So yeah, I'm happy with my team. I did not expect Tampa Bay to get blown out of the water by Dallas's offense, but we've been underestimating Dallas for a few years now, and I think they're going to be good this year.
Also, something that hurt Tampa Bay is one of their star cornerbacks from the Central Michigan University got injured pretty early in the game, Sean Murphy-Bunting, and he's a cornerstone of that defense, especially in the playoffs last year. He had a pick against Aaron Rodgers. He had a pick again, like in the other game in the playoffs. So they're going to be struggling without him for a little bit.
Yeah, I think Ayuk not playing kind of really affected our game, Jeremy. Because
you think so?
Yeah, because Samuel went off, and you got to imagine that Samuel wouldn't have had maybe 2 or 3 other passes that could have gone the other way to another player. So, he went off. I mean, 31.9, and I would have never thought he would be going off like that. And then I had Green Bay's defense, and who knew Green Bay was going to get crushed? I mean, I don't think anyone would be thinking that. So
you're telling me, Chip.
Negative
Rodgers.
Green Bay. So that's a good segue into your game. Jordan, go ahead.
Yeah, so for my game, I was pretty confident going in, even though I was projected to lose. But my receivers, they got yards, they just didn't score touchdowns. Jefferson was really close to one. Aaron Rodgers scored like 3 points or something like that.
Yeah, and it was 3.3.
Yeah, it was just underwhelming for everyone. And like Aaron Rodgers gonna have a bounce back game against Detroit this week. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
The one thing that really hurt me this week, Jerry Jeudy got injured in the third quarter of his game, I believe. And he was one of my like kind of like mid-round studs. I was hoping.
Yeah, now he's on your IR.
Yeah, but I drafted plenty of wide receivers, so I'm hoping I can replace them with I think his name's Mike Williams or something like that from the Chargers. He's a pretty good receiver. And then I got Mooney as well from Chicago.
And it's pretty unfortunate because when you look at that game between you and Jorge, he didn't have a good showing from Devontae Adams. And you would expect that the biggest hurdle that you're going to have to go against is not having Adams go off. And here he doesn't have a great game, but because your roster is really Green Bay heavy, you know what I'm saying? It kind of like affects you in that way.
Yeah, and you're not going to expect Aaron Rodgers to get 3 points every week. And I'm like, all right, it's week 1. I'm not in panic mode right now. It's just going to be one of those things, got to deal with it. I picked up Tyrod Taylor because Fitzmagic, my backup quarterback, got hurt. So I picked up Taylor. He had a good showing. So maybe if Aaron Rodgers has a few more bad games, which I don't see happening. I can go in different direction, but we'll wait and see. It's still plenty of time early in the season, so.
Okay. So yeah, gets into the matchups of the people on the podcast. Let's see how the rest shook out. So we have Sliced Nuts versus Depression. That is Brendan versus AJ. AJ got his. He got a shit rocked. I mean, if somebody puts up 150 points, you're probably just about always going to get your shit rocked. Going into the scores here, I don't see too much. AJ had an injured running back that definitely hurt him.
Yeah, Mostert going down after two rushes. That's gonna hurt anyone.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and then Slice Nuts got into a pretty big lead early on with Amari Cooper scoring 38.9 points.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of
points. I think the biggest one though for me is Waller with his 19 targets.
Yeah.
So I was going to bring that up later, because Waller got drafted. He was a keeper, wasn't he? This year.
He was. Yep.
He might be the best keeper that there was because 19 targets, that's insane. And that Raiders team isn't bad by any means. And I don't think Derek Carr is bad necessarily. So, I mean, that's kind of sustainable.
You got to
They're going to have to win.
Yeah, you got to imagine when we're looking at this, like Brendan's team right now is, if you look at it, if Elliott had a normal game, we're talking 170 points. That team could have put up pretty easily. So the scariest team that I'm looking at right now is Brendan's team, because if they can produce somewhat like this, and you know, I can't imagine Waller's going to get 26 every time, but Waller's a 15-point guy. I'm assuming, which is scary enough as a tight end. And then everyone else is probably right around where they're going to be. Pittsburgh looks really tough as a defense, and that's scary to put up more than 10 points as a defense because you never know what you're going to get, and it's one of those slots like tight end where it can make or break you, you know, if it's a close match. So Brendan's in great position. Like, he should be feeling really good. I wish I had that team, you know?
You gotta imagine Terry McLaurin's going to do nothing but improve because he only scored about 10 points. That Washington team's going to figure it out at quarterback. Heineke is getting in there, and he can sling the rock. So I only imagine his value is going to go up as well. So yeah, he's in a really good spot. AJ, on the other hand, Lockett had a good game. Lockett's one of those boomer bust guys, though, because he splits his targets with DK. Brandon Cooks, I actually think that's probably one of his most underrated players right now because he's their number one receiver on Houston. And then just looking at the rest of it, it's not a bad roster by any means. I don't think.
He's actually, when you look at his bench players, he's got some depth.
Yeah,
which is
he's deep. Yeah.
You know, yeah, I mean, he's got a couple good quarterbacks. He's got a couple wide receivers on his bench that are solid. Nyheim Hines actually put up 14 points. And Indy didn't look great. So, I mean, maybe Hines is going to be a little more involved in that offense than kind of anyone was really thinking.
Well, he's one of those pass catching running backs, too.
Yeah.
So kind of running back wide receiver, because if you look, he has 6 receptions for 48 yards. I mean, that's great for a running back. I wish I got that from Eckler.
Yeah, and I talked with AJ today, and he was saying the biggest mistake was not putting in Brady. And if you add Brady's points in, that puts him around 130 or so, and that puts him in a real competitive spot in the league, at least as of right now. So he's looking fine. It's just he went up against a team that is going to dominate. It's going to be tough unless there's some injuries or something. But Brendan's in really good position. It's going to be.
He had a really good first week. I mean, I think I don't think 150 is an expectation you can have every week. Waller's not going to have 19 targets every week.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but even if you take away 10 points from Waller, like, his other guys are going to be solid. He's built.
I get it. Yeah, I'm just saying. I feel like there's a couple players that might have hit their highest mark for the year. Cooper's not hitting 39 points every week either.
Yeah,
so it's a good team. It's a really good team. I can't. It's way better than my team. I'm just saying. I think we got to temper ourselves a little bit. It is week 1.
And you got to wait for injuries and stuff too, because the depth isn't necessarily all there. I would say right now.
Yeah.
But hey, it's like you said, it's early.
Yep, very early. Yeah, the other team that's out there, I guess if we're moving on, Jorge up against. I'm sorry, that's from week 2. This always goes.
No pants.
We had Nick. Yeah, no pants for life, yeah, against Lions Kool-Aiders. That was a tight game.
Adam and Mike. Yeah.
And I think Adam, we had a little group text going, Chip, Adam, and myself on Sunday, and I think he was expecting he might lose that game for quite a bit of the Sunday. So,
I think the biggest thing for Adam, if I was him, that I'd be confident in is that Williams for Baltimore got 18 points for him. Because the running back position for Baltimore is a mess. Their top two guys got injured, but that's good to see that. I mean, the Baltimore running back can be productive.
So Adam has the deepest running back group in this league as far as quality.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the highest number of running backs, but when you look at it top to bottom, they all have their place, and there's a point to them being on his team.
No, I think Adam has one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's got the top end talent that's really good, and it's got a lot of really good depth.
Oh, for sure.
Huge fan of this team.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, like you guys said, his starters look solid, and if there's an injury, he's got a plan. He's got a guy on the bench to swap it out. So he's going to be steady this whole season. And 3, that seems like it's going to be right around his average.
When your top 4 running backs are McCaffrey, Chubb, and Gibson, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, he's got the best starting 3 for sure. Mike's team did really well, though. You can't take anything away from him either. I mean, Kelsey had a solid game. Thielen, I was not expecting Thielen to drop 30 points. Godwin looked pretty good for Tampa. I wasn't sure how that Tampa wide receiver group was going to play out with all those targets. But Godwin, I don't know if he was the highest targeted wide receiver, but he definitely points when it counted.
So looking at this right now, if Aaron Jones scores 3 more points, which you imagine most weeks he's going to score at least 3 more points than he did, Mike wins that game. So if I'm him, I'm not counting myself out at all. No,
I wouldn't feel bad about it. And he's got some good pieces on the depth chart too. I mean, he's got Corey Davis sitting on his bench that put up 27 points.
Yep.
I mean, Corey Davis is supposed to be pretty involved in that offense, and I mean, honestly, it looked like he was about the only one that put points up from the Jets.
And look at Jimmy Winston.
Mm-hmm.
5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Jameis had a really good game. I'll be interested to see if he can keep that up. But that could really be good for New Orleans and all the players on New Orleans that rely on him.
Oh, for sure.
I say that because I got Michael Thomas, and I really want him to have a good second half of the year. Another one, James White. That's someone that kind of got overlooked, I think, in the draft, but he's one of those guys, especially now he's back on New England. He's been good, very good when he's been on New England. So I think that could be, I think that's a good player, good running back for his bench. That later on in the season, those are going to be hard to get. So.
All right, let's move on to the refrigerator and Marine City Cubbies.
Yeah,
Patty Matt with 33 points. It's hard, and I mean, to throw in a Tyler Kill between them, 70 points. Like, come on.
That's one of the better stacks that you can have in the league.
Probably one of the best.
I would say the only other one close that would be Dak and Amari Cooper, but that's probably the best stack you could have.
Yep.
That and maybe DK with
Russell.
With Russell. That would be another good one.
If you look at John's bench, this is Marine City Cubbies. Look at that bench. 20 points, 25, 24, 14, 14. That is a tough group. So he just needed a little more out of Ridley, it looks like, and he needed a little bit more out of his second running back, and he could have been rolling. He did all that with 2 guys underperforming and got 121 points. So I think next week he's going to make the adjustments, and it's going to be rough. So this
also, you're looking at. I'm sorry, Chip. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Looking at, I don't know if you guys watched the Rams game. It looks like they're going to let Stafford air it out.
Yeah.
And he has Stafford on his bench as well. So I mean, again, that could be another thing for next week as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And Nick's team is solid too. Like looking at that, he's got the Mahomes-Hill connection, and he's got Kamara. Hawkinson was incredible. He's going to be a really, really good tight end in the league, at least in terms of performance. And so, Yeah, it's going to be rough. Like I'm looking at this year, I guess, where there's so many teams that are really solid. And last year I felt like in our league there were at least a few teams that you could see the flaws and people were trying to work on them. This year it seems like everybody has some real strong strengths and they don't really have weaknesses. They just have maybe a hole here or there that they've got to find a plug for and the waiver wire has been going crazy. So it's clear people are trying to work on that. It's going to be really competitive.
Yeah.
So something I wanted to ask you guys about is after the draft, what did you try to do to like improve your team? Like, did you go to the waiver wire right away, or did you go to other people's teams and see how you can get their players?
I went and I got a kicker because I didn't have one.
I waited until Sunday to get a kicker and a defense. There's no need to rush it.
No.
I wanted one in for the game.
I really wasn't figuring I was going to be doing a whole lot of trades early on. It was more, let's see what's on the waiver wire. What did we all overlook? And there's a few. It's tough when you're drafting people. Even when you're drafting, the last rounds, generally there's a reason you drafted those people, right? You think they're going to do something. So it's really hard. At least I find it's really hard early on to give up on players either before they've even played or even after one game. Unless they are in a situation where it's clear that they're not part of the game script or the game plan, and they won't be.
Funny you say that because James Robinson did not look like he was going to get involved in that Jacksonville offense at all, and that was my second or third round pick or something like that, which scares the heck out of me. Because I only have 3 running backs on my roster, technically 4 running backs because Cordell Patterson counts as a running back and a wide receiver.
So what happened there?
What?
Was that by plan or was that an accident or?
So I saw him on the waiver wire.
No, sorry, not Patterson. I just mean the fact that you've got 4. Sorry, you've only got 4 running backs.
I just couldn't justify picking whoever was left at there. Like at the time, like Cooper. Like so, I looked and I'm like, all right, I could have got DeAndre Swift, but instead I drafted Cooper Kupp. And I'm pretty happy with drafting Cooper Kupp. And I don't know. Either I was waiting too long or I couldn't justify reaching or something like that.
I was in the same boat as you.
And I figured if I got quality wide receivers, I could try to make some sort of trade happen. Because I feel like I am pretty deep at the wide receiver pool right now. I got Galladay, Mooney, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Henry Ruggs, Cordell Patterson, Jerry Jeudy's on my IR right now. So I feel like I'm pretty deep at wide receiver. So if I need to make something happen, I can try. I tried with Chip this week. Made an offer. He unfortunately didn't work. But I don't know. Like I said, it's too early.
Yeah, and it's that same thing. Like with Anthony, like I just feel like I want to see what I have. Let week 1 happen, and then I'll start really thinking about trades and stuff like that. So I sent out a few trade offers because that's what I do, but I have not really started to really plan out like what do I want to try and change or send out because you don't know what you have yet. Like you were saying, Anthony, like you can't give up on a player just because of 1 week. You've got to see a pattern. You've got to see like what they're made of, Yeah,
we'll get a better feel this week. I mean, Robinson for you, like Jordan, I would probably be in the same boat. Like I wouldn't say panicking, but very nervous. Like not happy with what I saw, right?
Even with Austin Eckler, he didn't see any targets, and Herbert threw the ball like 39 times. So my situation is scary.
So you got to ask yourself, like, is that the way the offense? Because I know it's new coaching regime there. So is that how the offense is going to be now?
I hope not.
Was it just something goofy with the game where they start overlooking them and they needed to go deeper? I didn't watch the game, so I don't know. But give it another game, give it another couple games, and then you'll have a better idea. And hopefully, this was just a fluke one-off thing, and you get both running backs back, on track next week.
Yeah, I mean, I can like you said, it's early. It's too early to panic, but I'm not gonna lie and say I'm not nervous.
Yeah.
And
I think,
that's why I kind of
yeah.
think I got cheeky with Cordell Patterson because he's a running back and a wide receiver, or he's listed as
Mhm.
both. So I mean, his pass catching upside is higher than a lot of other like random running backs like James Conner, I would say. Um, so I'm hoping I get something out of there, or at least see something that would indicate that he could be viable as like a that's like a maybe running back two in a bye week. That, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh well.
All right, so did you guys want to get into kind of our main topic today? What our biggest regret was from the draft? Because Jordan
Yeah.
talked a little bit about not getting as many running backs, and I'm in the same boat. But I did it for the same reasons. Like if you look, like who the only time I could have picked a good running back, let's say, is round 2, because round 1 I picked Dalvin Cook. Round 3, I picked Josh Jacobs, who those two were both the highest rated running backs on the ladder when they were up. And if you look at round 2, who could I have gotten other than Allen Robinson? But I just regret getting a third decent running back, because it seems if you wanted 3 really good solid running backs, you had to do it in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, looking at this now, I'm like maybe I do wish I would have drafted Miles Sanders or DeAndre Swift. But I'm perfectly fine having Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp's gonna have one of the best years of his career with Stafford at quarterback. The other thing I see, I'm like Jerry Jeudy. He was playing well until he got injured. If I didn't draft him, I could have got Kareem Hunt or Chase Edmonds.
I think one of that's it's so hard to predict that. Like,
yeah,
I think that was a good pick with Judy. A lot of people were saying Judy could be the best wide receiver from last year as far as rookies go. When
yeah,
he gets up to speed. So you can't beat yourself up too much over that. It's like the running back for AJ. I can't think of his name right now.
Aaron
San
Jones.
Francisco.
I know.
No,
Mostert.
Mostert. Thank you. We all know Mostert can get hurt, right? It happens every year.
I
But
was avoiding him at all costs this year, so that's.
I guess you could say San Francisco, though, they have bad luck with their running backs. When you think about the past few years, it seems like they always lose their starting running back early on, whether it be in the preseason or like first couple weeks. So, you can always try to avoid high risk players, but at some point, if they fall to you, they fall to you, and you just gotta go with it. It's hard to pass up that value, right?
Yeah, I mean, if Mostert would have fell a round or two more, I probably would have taken him. I trust me, I wanted Mostert because he's one of the fastest players like in the league right now, and he's great when he's healthy. He's fantastic when he's healthy. I got burned by him last year, I think, or 2 years.
So Mostert, I'm actually looking at the draft right now. Mostert went the pick before Judy.
Oh, okay, so I couldn't have got him.
Round 4. Well, round 4, yeah. He picked up Mostert's fourth pick, who went right after Ayuk. And so that round, actually, what's crazy is that round started with Keenan Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So you got Keenan Allen, DeAndre Swift, Ayuk, Mostert, Judy, Damian Harris. So
I think Swift can be really good.
Yeah, those were all good picks in that round. Yeah. Good spot, good value.
Yeah.
So what is so Jeremy, you said the running backs for you. What are you happiest about your draft?
I am pretty happy with the running backs I did get. I feel like maybe not so much Josh Jacobs, but I feel like Dalvin Cook is a really solid workhorse to keep in the running back slot. And I think that what I missed out on running backs, I made up for in pretty good depth in the wide receiver position. So I have some flexibility there as the season goes on. And I mean, fingers crossed. I picked up Tyreek Cohen like round 8 or something like that. Hopefully he can come into the season and give me another, let's see, that'll make it my 2, 3, that'll be my 4th running back. My 5th running back. So hopefully Tyreek Cohen can come in and give me some depth later on in the season. I think they said he's out for 6 games, or not 6 games, like half the season.
Cohen's a good running back. He's been out a long time. because he went out, I think, early last year. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes back like. But when he was healthy, he was kind of like that same role as the running back from New Orleans, and I'm drawing a blank again.
Kamara.
I'm sorry, what?
Kamara.
Yeah, kind of like a poor man's Kamara. Yeah.
Hey, don't talk about my Bears that way.
No, I just mean like same kind of role, but not.
He's
not going to get you. He's no Kamara, but he's a good running back. He's a really good running back.
Yeah.
How bad did the Bears' offense look with Andy Dalton, though? How long until Justin Fields gets in there?
I'm shocked that if they'll let Andy Dalton play another 4 downs.
They did not look good.
I'm surprised
he threw one ball over 15 yards.
Even still going, because it was so bad with the Cowboys. It was so bad.
Yeah,
with what Chicago did with the 2 quarterbacks, and then we saw that. Where else did we see that this year? We saw that with San Francisco.
Yep, San Francisco.
That was something that popped up a few years ago. But you think that's ever going to become a little more commonplace?
I bet it will. I mean, the whole running back thing is kind of like switching out running backs is relatively new. I mean, like if you think about it from like the 90s, it was like there's one guy running the ball primarily throughout the game, and now we've got like 2, maybe even 3 guys that are running the ball for some teams. And it makes sense, doesn't it? Like if you have a quarterback that's more of a running prone quarterback and short passer, and then you've got a guy who just can launch it, it does make sense to sort of swap it in and out and sort of choose, who's fresh and give somebody a break. I think it makes sense. Plus, if you've got all your bank on one guy and he goes down, your season's really affected. So if you have 2 guys who know the system and you're working that, I think it's a smart move.
Did that start with the Carson Wentz, Nick Foles Eagles team? People like
we had the Wildcat, which was back probably 10 years ago, where we were seeing multiple quarterbacks. I think Miami had it. Did Philly back? I don't remember, but I know Miami ran the Wildcat about 10 years ago.
I just wonder if it's hard to have 2 offenses that are set up for that. Typically, if you set up the way I imagine it works with my minimal football knowledge is if you prioritize an offense that can keep the defense back longer and give your quarterback more opportunities to get rid of the ball, you're kind of sacrificing their ability to break through up front and give space for anything going on up and over the middle. So I wonder if that's hard, and maybe there are some unique personalities that can work well with that. But finding them and Andy Dalton isn't 50% of that.
Yeah. That's talent is going to be a big driver because there's a limited number of starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
Most teams don't have 2. Most teams, well, I shouldn't say most. Some teams don't have 1.
Yeah, a lot of them don't.
So yeah, that's.
What are the chances we see Cam Newton go somewhere like Dallas, where if you're on the goal line and you can either pass or run it, you don't want to see Dak run it. That's for darn sure. So have Cam do it. He's a big body. He can do it. He's athletic. He's shown he can run the ball. So are we going to see that in somewhere like Dallas or something like that? Because Cam's still out there.
Yeah, if a team feels like Cam can give them an edge, even if it's on a very specific set of plays with his skill set, if that's enough to put him over the top. And Dallas got a good team. Their defense let a lot of points go, but Tampa's got a really good offense. So, hard to say. But you're right. If you got a team like that, Seattle is another team that you may not be wanting Russ to run as much.
Yeah, you got Geno Smith. He goes in there for a coin toss every time in overtime. He wins every coin toss.
Well, if that's an ability you want in your quarterback, you go ahead and prioritize that.
Yeah,
they should really give fantasy
every time is worth a couple million to me.
I think Geno Smith is like 5 for 5 in overtime with like coin tosses or something like that.
They should give half a fantasy point to 1 coin tosses.
They send him out every time. It's incredible. Also, one more thing before I forget. Last year, the Ravens, with Lamar Jackson, RG3, and Mark Ingram, they had the Heisman package where all 3 of those guys were on the field at the same time. so they can kind of do some misdirection and stuff like that. I mean, obviously, no other team really has the talent or like athletes to do that, but it's just something interesting where you can have multiple quarterbacks on the field and make something happen, cause confusion at least.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what it is. These are going to probably be gimmick plays that we saw, and we may see them more throughout the season. But you know, you hear so much about it. I don't think any of us played high school football or higher, so you know, take everything we say with a grain of salt. But you hear so much about the time sinking that you get between wide receivers and quarterbacks, and how they really need a lot of time to get that down. If you're bouncing back and forth between quarterbacks, I don't know how you.
There's not enough reps.
I don't know how you get everyone synced up as well as they could be. So it'll be interesting. It was exciting to see because it's not something we've seen much of lately. But and it does get your mind going like, oh, what's the possibilities here? But I think probably just a bunch of gimmicks, and we'll see it normalize a little bit.
On the fantasy aspect, how disappointing is it when you have someone like Jimmy Garoppolo and you see Trey Lance come in for a play and then he scores a touchdown? That has a huge effect on fantasy.
And it's kind of like it's not the same exact with quarterback, but I have Swift with Detroit. I'd love him to be the number one, but Detroit's going to be running this package deal with the running backs. So if I'm going to play Swift, I know that he's only going to get maybe 75% of the runs
if you're lucky.
If I'm lucky, right? Or 50% or 40% on a given night. So it is getting more complicated for fantasy owners because these combinations are going to make it even harder to try and figure out how do you find value? How do you find points,
And I think a lot of that's just preservation because the season's a game longer this year too. So you don't want to wear down your running back in the first half of the season and then have him go down a game 12 or something like that when you really need him for a playoff push.
Right.
Yeah, I think for a Swift it makes a ton of sense because he gets hurt. He's been hurt. I think every season we've had him. So if they can reduce the wear and tear, Williams looks really good. So maybe they can be a nice 1-2 punch for it.
Yeah, Williams was good in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He's hurt. Is that what you said?
Today I got a big, flash from Yahoo saying that he was limited at practice today. So they said that there's some injury that he's been nursing, and it's like, oh, great, here we go.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that on Wednesdays all season with him.
Yeah,
I think they're going to just play it safe with him.
Yep.
So, how about you, Chip? What was
my biggest
regret and your biggest whatever you're most proud of with your draft?
So, for me, the draft was kind of an odd one because I didn't go into the draft thinking I'm going to just draft all the running backs, but the way that the draft went. It was almost like, and I know everyone says this every year, but the guy you have in mind, all of a sudden, like 2 picks before it's all you, just goes, and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that. So a lot of the wide receivers that I had my eye on would just go, and then I was looking at my notes, and it's basically like, I don't see any wide receiver that catches my attention, so I'm just going to grab a running back and hope for the best. And part of that is, like Jeremy alluded to this earlier, if you don't have one of those top end running backs, you're just kind of scrambling to try and get into that second tier, and who knows what that is, right? Like no one knows what the second tier of running backs will be for 2021. So I just started grabbing them like crazy. And in the second round, I guess my biggest regret, although it's early, is Najee Harris. So I grabbed him, and it was really between Edwards-Helaire and Robinson and Chris Carson, and I'm looking at those guys now producing pretty well, and Harris has all these big question marks, and I know the whole city of Pittsburgh's up in arms, like freaking out about it. If he can get it together, I'll be happy, but it doesn't look like it's likely, and the offensive line in Pittsburgh looks weak, so they're all saying that they can't hold the line, and they're not giving Harris any holes, on top of him perhaps not even being as good as what they thought. So my biggest regret is Harris at this point, and I know it's early.
My one thing I would say about that is that the Steelers have a really good defense, so that means that the offense is going to be on the field a lot. So, Harris was one of the guys I was kind of saying be careful of in the beginning of the season in the first podcast. He was on my list of people I might avoid this year. I think he still has a chance to be really good, though. Just give him time to develop and stuff. He has a chance to be really good.
Sure, and there's a possibility, right, that near the end of the season he starts getting things together. And I was thinking after the draft, maybe he's a keeper, maybe he's a possible keeper for me type thing. Who knows? So like if he starts really doing well, he was second round, not first round type thing. So we'll see. I don't know. That's my biggest regret so far is Harris.
As someone who had a piece of that Pittsburgh backfield last year, I can tell you it was incredibly frustrating to watch your running back get hit, their contact made behind the line of scrimmage every time he touched the ball. And it doesn't look like it's a lot better. Harris, I think, is definitely an upgrade from who they had last year. So you got that going for you. It's another one of those. Don't panic. Let's see the next couple games go. The other thing is they went up against Buffalo, who's got a good defense. I'm not sure if they're one of the better run defenses in the league, but they were shutting down that pass. And once they know that you can't pass on them, then that run defense all of a sudden gets way better because they can start focusing on that. So give it a couple of weeks. Let's see. Maybe they get a few easier matchups. I'm not sure who they're playing next, but a lot of people were high on him. I think it was a decent pick there, Chip. I don't know if it's. But we'll see.
So, Chip, what were you most proud of in this draft?
So I don't know if it was the draft that I was most proud of, but whoever it was, and I forget who it was, that dropped Young Ho Koo. Thank you.
I saw that he got onto your team.
My first pickup, and it was the guy that, honestly, going into the draft, the only player that I had at the top of my draft notes was Get Koo, and somebody stole him like way earlier than anyone had anticipated.
Was it AJ or you, Jordan? I feel like it was one of you guys.
It wasn't. I wish it was me. I wouldn't have dropped him though. That's the difference. I have Hot Rod. I can try to find him real quick and see who.
That's what I'm trying to see if I can find the transactions.
So, I was looking at your roster today, Trip, and I'm like, when did you get Young Ho Koo?
Right?
So Chip picked him up. I'm not sure if Adam put a claim out, but I put a claim out as well. But I put mine for 0. Chip put a buck on him, and he got him.
Yeah.
It was the refrigerator who.
Nick dropped him.
Yep.
Yeah. Did you drop him to pick anyone up?
No, I think he had 2 kickers, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. But maybe
he auto draft. It might have auto drafted, so he might have had.
He might have for a period of. So what Nick was telling me, and I think a few other people were something about during the draft when you're on mobile. If you jump off, like if you go to look up a player, it kicks you out of the draft.
Yeah, it was really annoying.
So people were bouncing in and out. I didn't know that because I've never drafted on mobile.
Yeah, right.
But it's something for people. We just gotta let people know next year. If you can do it in a computer, it's a way better experience.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm glad you have Young Roku.
Me too. Me too. But in terms of the actual draft, I guess I was not thrilled after the draft with my running backs, like just on paper, right? It kind of scared me. And I'm actually delightfully surprised with Taylor. So I got to see some recaps. I didn't get to see the game, but I got to see some recaps, and he looks solid. He looks good. And so at least I got one, So that's my win right there.
Yeah, if you look
Taylor
at the receiving,
was a slow start last year, but by the end of the season he really came on strong. So he should be a good running back for you.
And if you look at the receiving core of that team with T.Y. Hilton out, they're going to be a pretty run-heavy team for a little bit. So Taylor's a good pickup.
Wentz missed some preseason, so it's going to take some time probably for him to get synced up with the wide receivers too. So, yeah, I think it's a good play there, and he should be solid for you all year. And really, when you think about Taylor, in theory, if Harris can get his stuff figured out, and then you got Swift as your third, that's a good trio. Very solid trio of running backs.
Very solid trio.
The only thing I've got, right? So I think Jordan, you sent me something for Swift, and right away I was like, well, then who would I put in my alternate slot? I don't have anyone else. My bench is nothing. So
you can have James Conner.
My bench is all waiting for someone to get injured, basically. So
yeah, and I figured I might as well put something out.
Right.
Why not? And then I got the text from you, and I was like, dang it.
Yep. But I'm just glad that the season so far hasn't been completely affected by COVID in a big dramatic way, and that everyone is competitive and everyone seems to be happy with their teams so far. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a really fun year. And it doesn't look like there's any team out there that's just going to sort of nosedive. And Jeremy kind of took that position from the league last year, and it was hard to figure out like how would he even get back to a competitive spot. But everyone's competitive this year, which I love.
Well, I'm the only one that scored less than 100 points in the first week, so hopefully that's going to change.
Scream to me that they're going to be stuck there, you know?
Hope not.
All right, so let's
just remember, you can be last place or second to last place 3 weeks before the playoffs and still
win it all.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into next week. So we have me versus Anthony. Our predictions have been going back and forth around 130 between like 52% and 48% between us. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty close game. I noticed we both have 2 questionable players on our starting lineups. Me a running back and you a tight end. So fingers crossed, I can play a full team next week.
Yeah, I haven't looked at our matchup all that closely. We don't have anyone playing tonight, do we?
No, it's all Sunday.
What is the game tonight? Anybody know?
It's Washington against
Giants.
The Giants. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, you got a couple bench players playing tonight. You got Evan Ingram and Daniel Jones. So.
Many times. Bet the over on his rushing yards this year if you're a betting man.
What was that? I'm sorry.
If you're a betting man, bet on Danny Dimes over on the rushing yards.
What is it?
I don't know, but he runs a lot more than people think.
Okay.
Sorry, that's my gambling tip of the week.
So for me, my biggest regret, I don't even know if I have a regret. There was something I thought of earlier today and I forgot. But the thing, I guess my biggest surprise for my draft is that like I got to the end and all of a sudden I realized I had drafted like 7 rookies. Out of like 12 rookies that were drafted in the whole league.
Wow.
So I normally don't like to do that, but it just kind of played out that way. So I'm hoping some of these rookies, and I'm worried that Adam drafted all the good rookies and I drafted all the terrible rookies. That's what I'm really worried about.
I think Waddle's going to be. Adam has Waddle, right?
Yeah, he's got Waddle. That was that was my biggest.
Good one.
My 2 biggest regrets are players Adam got. He got Waddle, and I drafted someone foolish in front of Waddle. And then when he got Murray from Arizona, that was one of those. I drafted the rookie running back from Denver over it, and I was like, at the end, when he drafted, I was like, how did I miss that? I totally had my blinders on, and I wasn't paying attention, and I missed out on that because that was a nice pick.
So the betting line on Daniel Jones before we get too far away on rushing yards is 22.5. Jordan, you think he's going to break 22.5 rushing yards?
I meant for the season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, say Washington's a tough team to run against.
Find out if you can find out what the season is. That's what you want.
Okay.
I don't really care about that right now, but whatever it is, on the over.
Yeah, so I think Jeremy and I are pretty evenly matched. I think it'll be an interesting game to see how it plays out. Looking forward to getting that win over you, Jeremy.
Yeah, I disagree. Oh, it's 400.5 for the year, Jordan. I'm gonna pick under. Although he did rush for 423 last year, so who knows?
Yeah. Our next matchup we got is Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood going up against Slice Nuts.
Yeah, I'm scared for this week. This would be really telling for my team, I think. Like I said, Jerry Judy's out, so yeah, for both teams. It'll be telling for both teams.
I think this is a big game for Rogers. You'll know what Rogers is after this week. As far as let's put it this way: if he doesn't have an amazing game against Detroit, I'd start sweating bullets.
Exactly.
I think they're bringing their A game, and I think Detroit's going to get rocked.
And it's Monday Night Football, so usually those games that are sort
in Green Bay,
people just blow up.
Yeah.
Listen, I listened to the Pat McAfee show this week on Tuesday, Aaron Rodgers Tuesday. Aaron seemed very relaxed.
He was incredibly chill.
He was not panicking. So I mean, I'm gonna let him do his thing. He's been there.
We got hipster Aaron Rodgers all of a sudden with his long hair and his smoking his weed. Like, I don't know, man.
Allegedly.
Vitamins.
I don't had too much. Yeah.
I hope it was just a bad. Well, I shouldn't say that. As a Lions fan, I hope that's who they are. But for Aaron Rodgers, I hope that is just they weren't ready. They didn't do the prep work they needed, and they're going to get their stuff figured out.
They couldn't find any rhythm. That's what it all came down to. They just could not find a rhythm. And the Saints defense is really good too. And the Saints defense just looked more prepared. That's all I have to say. They looked more prepared. As Jameis said, his trainer told him that they had to be prepared, and then he forgot what his trainer told him. Aaron Rodgers should have a good game this week. If he doesn't, might have to start Tyrod Taylor. We'll see what happens.
Oh, well, Tyrod's a heck of a backup to have. He looked pretty good for Houston.
Yeah, when they don't puncture his lung before a game, he's actually a decent quarterback.
Yeah, that's an important step to not being shit at football, is having your lung punctured by a doctor not paying attention.
Right.
His doctor had Herbert on the bench.
This is fantasy, yeah. Doctor had Herbert on fantasy, yeah. That's the problem.
All right, Sentinels
no,
pants.
Game,
yeah, it will be. I'm looking forward to seeing how Aaron Rodgers does, especially.
All right, next one.
Washington Sentinels versus No Pants for Life.
So I think Adams a projected favorite, and if I had to pick right now, I mean, just based on the teams, I think Adams got the team to beat.
Definitely.
Right now.
He has no kicker.
Adam doesn't even have a kicker starting right now, and he's by 10. So I'm sure he's going to get that fixed before the game. And I do for Ben's got some really good pieces. He just has to kind of figure out how to complete that team.
Mm-hmm.
Jamar Chase actually looked really good last weekend.
He did.
It'd be interesting to see how he progresses. I mean, for a guy that was complaining about how he didn't like the NFL football,
he couldn't see it. Yeah.
I don't think he had a drop, did he?
I don't think so. He had a hell of a game.
Yeah. So,
is there a reason why Barkley in for tonight? For like 30 minutes from now?
I think they said Barkley's going to be limited.
Really?
I think. Hold on, I'm bringing up.
That's wild.
It's also a thunderstorm where they're at. So.
I mean, I know he didn't do well. Barkley didn't do well in game 1.
He's gonna still be on a snap count right now, is what it sounds like.
That's rough. That's a major.
He only had 11 touches last week.
Yeah. Yikes.
I think for Ben, the important thing is it's kind of a weird balance right now. Is try not to lose too many games, and hopefully Barkley can just heal up completely, and he'll be ready to go.
Right.
I think Ben would rather have Barkley for the last 12 or 14 games at 100% than have him all season at 60 because he hurts himself. So hopefully Ben can turn it around here. I mean, he's got some good. He's got Montgomery and Miles Sanders. I like both of them. They're not top talent, but Montgomery's a good running back.
I think Sanders is very underrated as well. Like Sanders can definitely explode for a good game.
It will be interesting to see what happens between Sanders and the rookie there in Philly. Because the rookie looked pretty good. But and then he's got Gaskin as his flex. When you look at Ben's got five quality running backs too. He's got a pretty deep running back group. Because on his bench he's got Barkley and he's got Mike Davis for Atlanta. It wasn't amazing last week, but he's still a starting running back.
And you got to think Ayuk's gonna play better, right?
Yeah, although he doesn't have him starting.
I think said Ayuk is being written into that game plan a little more. It sounds like he didn't. It sounds like he wasn't quite ready.
Yeah,
that's really San Francisco has got to be the best team in the league at hiding whatever the hell they've got going on there.
Well, that's kind of Shanahan's thing, yeah.
As the guy who drafted the rookie running back, who then became a healthy scratch week 1, that Trey Sermon really set me back. I was really hoping he was going to kind of become the guy there, especially when you see the starting guy go down. So that is actually what drove me to dump half of my fab on Mitchell, which I wasn't real super happy about. But.
All right, should we get into the next matchup?
Yeah. Dick in a box refrigerator.
Another tight game.
Yep.
High scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to see how that stack does again with Mahomes and Hill. For the refrigerator, you got to worry about Tampa Bay's wide receivers, right? Because they're either going to get a lot, like, it's so crowded with Antonio Brown having great games now, Rob Gronkowski's getting more targets than ever, Godwin and Mike Evans. It's just a crowded wide receiver room, and they're all really good. So that's the only place I would worry with Mike Evans. But my Ditka in the box is probably one of the best 1-2 punch combos with wide receivers, with Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. And you got to think that Adams is going to have a great game.
Looking at the bench.
Well, you got Metcalf as his third.
Yeah, it's a great 1-2-3.
Yeah, probably the best three, or the top three wide receivers in the league.
Yeah, that's what he was going for. He said he wanted all receiver rush. And he has decent running backs to boot. Maybe not top tier, but competent. Probably has a better running back lineup than I do.
It's a really good team. It's a really good team.
Yeah, that's a good team.
Sold last week, but
Nick's struggle. I think he's got a great starting group. There is zero depth for running back. Like when you look at what he's got Fournette. That's his top running back on the bench.
Got Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah. So as long as Nick's running backs can stay healthy, Nick's in good shape. And hopefully Hill and Mahomes can just kind of carry some of that for Nick until he can get the running back situation figured out.
Yeah, and Hawkinson's going to carry that tight end spot throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
So
he's really good. Like Nick took care of all those starting spots first, and he's got a really great. I think he's probably one of the top starting position, whatever you want to call it. Like all his starters are near the top because he went early and got all those spots knocked out. But unfortunately, you pay for that with some depth, and he's got some wide receivers, but running back wise, it's a little thin.
All right. Let's see here. We got Lions, Kool-Aiders, and you, Chip. This is probably the biggest predicted point disparity so far. We got you predicted at 135 and Mike predicted at 140. Let's see these. Oh, you play later, Chip, so you won't have a repeat of me and you last week. You're going to be the last one to play.
Right. Yeah, so that Monday night thing drives everybody nuts, and that's, losing on Monday night is the worst.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you go into Monday and you have a certain point, lead, all you're hoping for is you just can hang on, and if you lose, it's crushing. So I'm looking forward to not having that happen again this week, because I don't think it just can't, unless Jones goes off, I guess, on Monday. But
he might against Detroit.
He might, yeah. But the fact that I have 3 slots on Monday is nice, But yeah, this point spread is pretty big, and who knows what's going to happen here. We both have no wins, so at least somebody comes out with a win, right? Like no one of us is not going to be 0-2.
Yeah, and it's raining in Tampa, so maybe Brady and Allen will keep the ball short and maybe on the ground.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, like, just as a homer, like what if the Lions can repeat as far as putting points on the board like they did last week.
I'm gonna go with no.
That was in the last 2 minutes, but
last 45 seconds, 16 points in like 46 seconds or something like that.
I think with the Lions, like the first half, they looked terrible, and
they did.
The only good thing I think you can take out of that game is that team did not give up.
That's the Dan Campbell effect.
Yeah, like that's the thing is if they keep doing what they're doing, and they keep fighting like had a fight last week, like they're never out of it.
Well, isn't Jeff Okudah out for the year?
well, he's out of it.
Yeah, he is literally not in it.
They're never out of it. Bo's and Okuda. Yeah. No, Okuda is he's unfortunately that sucks. 2 years in a row, basically cut short like that. But I don't think anyone expected him to do a whole lot. So hopefully they can just be competitive. We can see some of the young guys develop. I think that's about the best we can ask for. And who knows? Maybe the running backs can keep catching 10 passes each, and they can still put up a passing game, 5 yards at a time.
Well, Jared Goff, he's like 5th in passing yards right now. So if he has another good game, watch him on the waiver wire.
Right.
You're not the only one that was like,
Oh.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good game. Both teams have got some good talent, so, we'll just have to kind of see how it plays out. It's early, so it's hard to say, well, this is what's going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Is the last one AJ and Marine City Cubbies?
Yes, sir.
All
right. I think they're kind of underselling Matthew Stafford here at 20 points. This matchup looks...
I saw some analysts on Twitter say that Stafford could potentially throw for 6,000 yards this year. Which I don't know if that, but that offense definitely caters to Stafford tossing the rock.
Yeah.
And you gotta think Ridley's going to be more involved too with Atlanta.
Atlanta just has to get their offense figured out. They look terrible.
Yeah.
They couldn't do anything. The top to bottom, wide receivers, running backs, quarterback, Matt Ryan he didn't have time to do anything. I watched part of that game and it was just terrible.
Yeah, I saw a picture. It looked like Matt Ryan was dead on the ground.
He might have.
I didn't watch the game.
His fantasy points were going as someone who picked him up to start for their team. He was definitely dead for a minute, or 58 of them. Mixon,
Mixon every year is such a freaking anomaly.
Yeah. You just got to pick him on the right year.
That's what it is. He's leading the league in rushing yards right now. I don't even know Mixon. I'm tired of him. He's taunted me for years.
Mixon?
Yeah, because he's always been there, and I want to take him every year.
And the guy always has so much promise, right? He's a bell cow on Cincinnati, who should have a decent game, a decent team, decent offensive line to run behind. He's going to get the opportunities. Can he do it?
Mm-hmm.
Last year he got hurt. He was hurt most of the season, so the year before, I think Chip had him 2 years ago, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah, and early on in that season, first half of that season he was garbage, but second half he was top 8.
Yep.
So
that Bengals offense also looks pretty decent with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow doesn't look like he's lost a step since his injury.
Nope.
That Bengals offense could be dangerous. Watch out for the AFC North. That's going to be a competitive division this year. I think the Browns are going to win it, but that could be a competitive division this year.
Browns looked good against Kansas City, at least early in that game.
Baker looked really good that game.
Yeah.
They had the lead at the beginning for a while. Can never count Kansas City out though. You just got to keep scoring. But
they were running all over Kansas City. They really were trying to slow that game down and just run, and it was working for a while, but just can't stop.
Until Patrick Mahomes got bored and said, "You know what? Let's just play."
Yeah, that's pretty much So.
All right, those are our matchups for the week. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we wrap up here?
Just AJ going 2 tight ends this week.
What?
Which, after looking at Rob Gronkowski's point total last week, I don't really blame him.
I rolled Gronkowski until he let you down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at his bench, I'd go Gronkowski too.
Yep.
I mean, when you got Kittle and Gronk, the thing about AJ, he's going to have depth in these weird spots, and he's not going to trade him.
Nope.
He will not trade him. Even if he can upgrade his running backs or his wide receivers, he will not touch them. It's not going to happen.
Oh, there's no chance.
He's good quarterbacks, and he's just no, I'm good.
Yep, I wanted Herbert. He wouldn't give him to me, so that's the way she goes. 2 defenses.
Yeah, he likes his depth in weird spots.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a second kicker. I'm surprised he didn't try and get Kuhn.
I think he had a second kicker. If you say Kuhn?
Koo.
You mean Koo?
Wow.
That was the name of my old teacher, not the racist thing. I'm gonna have to cut that.
Jeremy's actually gonna have to edit part of the podcast.
No, I won't.
Is that the alarm kicking us off?
No, I got a call coming in, so I don't have to go, guys. But all right, well, here's to another good week, guys. Good luck.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week. If you want to be on, any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and let us know. All right. See you guys later.
Yeah.
Bye.
See you guys.